We are moving now from generative AI to another AI topic, looking specifically at ethics. I am exceptionally proud of this panel because, you know what? We just couldn't find any qualified men to talk about this topic. So please welcome our next panel. It's going to be moderated by Merle, the head of artificial intelligence at Bitkom. Please welcome Merle and her panel.
Hello, everyone. Also from my side, very happy to be here and moderate this interesting panel and hopefully decode the dilemma. So we're going to talk about ethical considerations in AI today. Why are we doing that? AI is increasingly making decisions that impact everyone's lives profoundly. We want to talk today about how we make sure that these decisions are unbiased, equitable, and respect fundamental rights. You'd say, oh, well, I hope that's already the case. No. The problem is we have, unfortunately, some examples that show that this is not always the case yet. For example, in 2019, it became clear that the Dutch tax authority used a self-learning algorithm to detect child benefit fraud. Besides, however, detecting fraud, this algorithm also managed to wrongly accuse a lot of people of such fraud. This started for a lot of families a year-long process of trying to prove their innocence until in 2019 it became clear or public that this algorithm made wrong decisions. We don't have AI to guide us on these questions yet. That's why I'm very happy to discuss these today with my great panelists, and I'd like to give every one of them a short introductory question so you get to know them a little better. And afterwards, we'll start into the discussion. I'll start with you, Ramak. You're a lawyer by training, and you are the law technologist. So you're already bringing together for some time law and technology. Maybe you can describe a little bit to the audience what was your motivation in starting this initiative?
I was basically applying IT law, and I was not happy with the law that I was applying. So I started to do policy work, and then I saw the lack of expertise at the policy side. Then I started AI research to bring more light into transparency of AI, and now I'm working to understand the builders, the data scientist perspective. So this is where I landed.
Okay, so we're trying to do the translation a little bit today between law and technology. Very much looking forward to that. So
Great.
Glad to have you here, Ramak.
Thank you.
Carina, you are a member of Women in AI and Robotics, and you have a background in product management. You're a mechanical engineer. How do you think these two, you could say, professions or engagement of yours, how do they benefit from each other, maybe? Yeah.
Yes, there is a huge benefit that engineering can get from looking at AI ethics during the development of products. And I'm very engaged in putting these trustworthy AI principles into the product development, because that's the stage where we still can incorporate these values into products before they're out in the wild and can cause potential harm or anything. And from Women in AI and Robotics, we also have a high interest in pushing these principles into the development, because we think it's really important to have diversity at the table when we develop products, because products are for everyone, and so the society should also be reflected in these product development teams.
Very curious to hear a little more about how to really implement ethical principles into technology, because I think that's what it's basically all about. Very warm welcome to you, Carina.
Thanks.
And last but not least, Wiebke, glad to have you here. You are a policy advisor in the German Parliament. You are very much at the heart of the discussion on AI regulation right now. Since we had a lot, you could say, going on in the space of AI since the end of last year, how did you feel the discussion maybe on a political level changed since this new kind of wave of AI?
Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much for the invitation. I think the political discussion has really taken a new dynamic since the rise of ChatGPT and especially its wide applicability, because now AI is really perceptible to everyone, and also the risk and its potentials. And before, the discussion around AI was always like in the policy bubble, rather limited to a small bubble, and now it has become apparent that AI has like a huge impact on our daily lives and society, and also on our economic welfare. So I think we're kind of really benefiting from this dynamic. Sometimes it can be a bit misdirected if we're, for example, looking at the open letter of the Future of Life Institute with a moratorium, or but in general, I think the debate has become very constructive and has also received the attention it actually deserves.
Yeah, AI definitely exited its niche, you could say.
Yes.
You can also see that here on the main stage with a lot of you here. I'd like to start with the notion of trustworthy artificial intelligence into this discussion, because it's a wide used term. Also, the European Union has at its goal to create an ecosystem of excellence and trust. I'm very curious to hear from you what you understand under trustworthy AI. Who wants to start?
I'm happy to start. Trustworthy AI is already spoken about since 2019. We have, as you said, the guidelines, but there are not only guidelines in the EU Commission, but we have more than 300 guidelines, most of them led by industry, but also NGOs and governments. And the principles are very clear. Mostly it's about making sure that the systems are robust and safe, that you have somebody to hold accountable, that you care and ensure environmental and societal well-being, that we have a huge problem with biased systems, especially also with large language models, that you make sure that the systems you use are diverse and not biased, which is very difficult already. Then privacy and data governance are a topic, and also very important for the industry to have human oversight and control about this technology that you use in your applications. And for all of this, a precondition is transparency. Therefore, transparency is always at the core of trustworthy AI, but it's already a very difficult topic because it has to be meaningful for different kind of stakeholders that are involved in the life cycle of the AI, from the development to the deployment to the use in the real environment.
Okay, so you'd say transparency is kind of at the core of trustworthy AI. Carina, Wiebke, what is your understanding in that context?
I would agree to that transparency is one of the key requirements that we have. But yeah, on a more high level, I would describe trustworthy AI as being lawful, ethical, and robust. And if you think about these three pillars, this also shows that we have to take an interdisciplinary approach to developing these systems. So I'm trained as an engineer. I don't have the law background, but we need this perspective on a team to develop a product that is meeting all the requirements from the regulations, and as well fulfill the laws. And from the ethical perspective, we need AI experts on teams, or like consultants that support a development process, that they can ask the right question at the right time. So at best in an early development stage, so that everything is thought through before it's in production. And later on, of course, or like during the whole development, we also need to develop a robust system. And robustness not only on a technical level, but also on a societal level. Because if we build a product that has an availability of 100%, so it never fails, like like a cloud that's available all the time, but is not supporting our democratic principles, then it's not robust from a societal perspective. And maybe you can add on that.
No, I mean, I totally agree with what you both have said. I think I'd like to build on the notion of transparency because I think it's very closely linked also to discrimination and fairness and how we can actually deal with discriminatory algorithms or so on. Because I think whether I'm purchasing, I don't know, an insurance online or whether I'm applying for my dream job, I think people should have the right to know that an AI system is involved and that it is potentially making a judgment about the decision. So first I have the right to know. This is the first notion of transparency, and then building on top of that, I also have to understand what the AI system is actually doing and what kind of impact it has. So I have to understand what kind of parameters are used. And that's also key for then to see whether an AI system has actually discriminated against a group of people or me personally and so on. So I think those two aspects are really key for trustworthiness in AI.
I see. Maybe we have some points from we can diverge further on. I'd like to talk about the AI as well, but maybe a little later because first I'd like to ask. Okay, we now have the principles and some guidelines. When I bring an AI product now into the market, what do I have to do as a company to make sure that I adhere to these principles?
You should have a diverse team of, we heard, multidisciplines, and they should be embedded in the making of the system from the beginning. And you can start with the problem definition already, also with the decision whether you need AI or not for solving your problem. And if you want to use AI, whether you want to really use black box AI or if an interpretable model would do the same job. Not only in terms of accuracy and traceability, but also in terms of sustainability, because large language models are really energy intensive. This is nothing that we can multiply, and everyone has its own pocket LLM. That doesn't work like this. So you can start very early, and then the data is really huge aspect. Where is the data from? Is it high quality? We heard it in the panel before, as it's very huge and complex matter. And did you get the consent if it was personal data? And is it for the use that you want? Are the data sets representative? And also always to think about having the participation of the later users and impacted people. And then you go on with the design and you think about how to debias. And also somebody should always be accountable, a real person for every step of this. And you need feedback loops. I mean, I could talk for hours, but I'll pass it to you.
Yeah. I totally agree with what you said. Maybe one thing I would like to add is that regarding the feedback loops, oftentimes in the industry, people tend to develop a product and are very technology driven in the teams. They are like, oh, now we're doing AI, but then they forget to think about the user perspective in developing these things. And it's very crucial to put yourself in the shoes of the end user of the product and also all the people that are impacted somehow by your solution to make some kind of a risk assessment to see what can impact them in their life in a positive or negative way. So of course the company is always focusing on impacting them in a positive way, so there's the focus, but nobody looks at what can go wrong with the product. So developing some scenarios and be open-minded in a sense that you not only focus on making money with the product, but also what's the general outcome when I put this product to the market.
All right. So that's you could say, practical side of things. We also have right now going on a discussion on how to create a regulatory framework for that, Wiebke. In your view, does the AI Act, right now it's kind of difficult because it's still in discussion, but is it going in the right direction regarding your understanding or what you'd hope trustworthy AI to be in the European Union?
Yeah, I think the AI Act lays a very good baseline for trustworthy AI because I think in general regulation is key for trustworthiness openness in a societal context, because then citizens can be sure that somebody's looking after it, that there are safety measures, requirements, and so on before an AI is let on the market. And I think, and thus in general, regulation is a very important milestone in that. Now, specifically to the AI Act, I mean, you've already said it, we have to see how it turns out. But I think with the risk-based approach it's following, I think that's a very targeted approach, and also quite effective, because we leave quite a lot of room for innovation. The European Commission estimates that 15% of the systems of AI systems is placed in the high-risk category. So we would really only target the systems which have a severe and potential harm to fundamental rights. And thus, I think this is in general a good approach and very important.
We have the discussions around the AI Act going on now for over 2 years. On this, you could say, running AI Act train, we then had generative AI hitting from the sideline. Ramak, you already mentioned it as well. Do you think, did that create new open questions? Are there actually new problems with generative AI, or is it just old problems with a new, you could say, scale?
We knew large language models before. What is new is the wide adoption. We have already thousands of applications, downstream applications, running through APIs on generative AI. So this is the problem, that we have a flawed technology. It's not really mature, and it's already used widespread. So there was a research around the compliance of some of the generative AI with the AI Act, if it would be already valid today, and only 2% had really higher rates. The other one was 20% compliant, 50% compliant. And imagine this technology is already used. It is biased, it is non-accurate, and it's not meant to answer domain expertise questions. It's only guessing the next word. So that's the problem. But it's a good timing, because the AI Act is already reacting on generative AI. They have some, at least in the version of the parliament, let's see what happens if it stays in or not. There is some extra focus on foundation models, to disclose if the data sets are from copyrighted material, and that they should have an extra eye on how biased the model is, for example, if they are safe enough, how accurate, how the performance is. So this is already good. So I think it's good that we also now have more people interacting with AI and having a real opinion about how it's in the daily use. So I think it's good, and at the same time we lose even more grip on the governance of AI, which is not, this is the bad news.
Okay, Wiebke, would you agree that generative AI already found its way into the discussion on the AI Act, or is there still, you'd say, a lot of room, maybe also on German level, to regulate here?
Yeah, I think, as Ramak already said, the European Parliament has incorporated generative AI in its position on the AI Act, but we also saw that the European Commission did not include it at all, the Council only a little bit, and I think it's going to be interesting in the trilogue how they are going to figure that out. But I think what is very important is that we have kind of those labeling obligations, because what we can see is that generative AI is creating, through Midjourney, funny images, or for example, the Pope in a down jacket, or other funny images. But it can also be used to really spread or create disinformation and propaganda, as we saw, for example, with this one AfD politician who posted a picture on Instagram of angry migrants, and didn't disclose that this picture wasn't real, but created with AI. And that's I think, a very dangerous path, also for the trustworthiness in our society and also in AI systems. If people can't really make the difference anymore between what is real and what is not. And I think a labeling obligation could actually be key, yeah.
Okay, so we have Elon Musk and others asking for a pause on giant AI experiments. is that the solution to the challenges we are facing right now? Would that be like a political option as well? What are your perspectives on that?
I think you can't pause something like a big movement is already starting. It's like the box of Pandora. It's opened. No, I hope that it's not like this. But you can't pause it, but you can't reframe how you talk about these things. And I see it critical that now AI is like put on this science fiction. It will destroy the world. Plateau, and people are confused by that. So the broad society is not educated on the topic, and now they get only the narrative of that AI will cause harm to the world. And I think that's just one side of the medal, and we should make the dialogue more open and also discuss about the opportunities that we can create for society. And so you can't pause it. That's my answer shortly.
And if I may add, it's also, I think it's very hypocritical to say we are on one hand calling for a moratorium, and but just because Elon Musk, for example, isn't yet as far yet in his AI research, and Microsoft with OpenAI and Google are way ahead, and now calling for a moratorium, I think that's a bit, hypocritical.
I think that it's technology. We can stop it right away. It's us. While I'm thinking this, I also don't think we should have a pause on, I also don't know on what exactly, but we should, something that we should not use at all should be some widespread use of facial recognition in the public spaces, or something like surveillance at the workspace. This is something that we could ban right away and we shouldn't really enforce. At the same time, I think that this is part of a marketing strategy to say, hey, look how powerful our technology is, so powerful that it can end the world. And on the other side, it means that it's also so beneficial. And this is a strategy to get more funding. So I don't take it too serious.
All right, so we're not pausing like the technology as such, but we have the power basically to say what we are using it for. That's what I
We can
understand.
also stop the technology. And in Italy, we had OpenAI had to turn down the use of ChatGPT for some weeks. So it is possible to stop. It's something that we make. It's not a god-like force that we cannot stop.
Mm-hmm. So that's, you could say, the one side, so the market or the technology itself. What do you think, what's the responsibility or the actions that we should take with regards to educating maybe our society on AI? Because Wiebke already said it, it's pretty hard or not possible anymore to like say which picture is like true or not. What do you think, what are the sensible steps forward in that way?
Yeah, I think that's a really important point, that we have to build digital literacy in our society. People have to be able to understand like where an AI system was involved, how it came to the decision, and also what you've already mentioned, like with deciding or making informed decisions about the content of or the truthfulness of a content. And besides that, we also need to build the digital literacy first also for our workforce, but also looking at the digital divide, looking to enable people who are not as digital literate to still participate in our digital society. And I think the German government has taken some important steps towards that, such as vocational trainings. I think labeling obligations, as I said already, are key to that, but I think we really need to do more in this regard, because otherwise we risk to lose kind of like the not so digital literate part of the society. Yeah.
Yeah, and maybe to add on that, there are a lot of associations like Women in AI and Robotics, for example, who preparing course material and do workshops for free, so that people can participate and learn about, for example, trustworthy AI, which is one of our upcoming sessions on the topic. So just to make a little bit of advertisement here. And yeah.
Yeah, I think I would have like 3 recommendations. One would be to really change the mentality also in the industry, we're talking a lot about lack of expertise on policy side, and this is true. But we also have lack of expertise on the developer side on how the impact of the AI is in the real world context, and also how the law that is regulating your business is about. So people think AI Act is the first regulation regulating AI, but AI is already widely regulated. You're not supposed to discriminate someone. You can do it with AI or with verbal actions. So this is one thing, and rather than to focus on having this fear for policy interventions, rather look what you can do, use all the guidelines that are there and make more responsible long-term plannings, and also resist this artificial urgency to having to use large language models. Maybe you have to speak with the investors if they are asking for that, and also ask the right questions. If you're buying AI from suppliers, ask where the data is from, ask where the performance is about. This would be one thing. Then prepare for the AI Act in time, so not to have the trauma of GDPR. You could already start right away, because there are negotiations end of the year. It will take 2 other years since they come in full effect, because the fines are pretty high. So I was really recommending these.
All right, maybe a very quick short round, because we have 2 minutes left. We were already all very surprised maybe by the capabilities of large language models, especially since the beginning of this year. Do you think that such models can actually support maybe ethical decision making with technology in the future, or maybe even human decision making? Maybe very, very quick last round.
I am a fan of technology, so I'm always looking for use cases, and in terms of large language models, they are really good in translating complex text and accessible text. This is something that I'm really enthusiastic about. We have to look at one use case and then go through, and it can be possible, but it has lots of problems where we don't have solutions yet. So we should be very careful and thoughtful in the implementation.
Yeah, I totally agree that they help getting out this notion of why it's important to look on trustworthy AI, because with these large language models, we have a special point in time right now where the broad society is interacting with AI. That wasn't the case before. So we see that they are playing around, and then they experience themselves how the AI does something biased. For example, if you create an image with Midjourney and you wanted to create a person of a woman in tech, and you haven't specified it when you prompted engineer, then you experience it firsthand how an AI can perpetuate biases that are in the data. And I think that's a good point to really make it visual and understandable for the broad society, because in text and in images they see it, and this makes the abstract concept of ethics more tangible for them.
Yeah, I mean, I totally agree with what Ramak and Carina just said. I think the rise of generative AI has really helped us to bring this out of a small niche of people thinking about it. For example, I mean, it's very abstract if you think that a system can increase the efficiency of something by 30% or something, but like with generative AI, we've really brought this to a wide and public stage. Yeah.
All right, then that was it for the last round. Thank you all very much. We have a speaker's corner around this corner where we'll at least have some of the speakers here. If you have any more questions on ethical AI, thank you all very much, and back to you.